Right. I guess we are live. Hello, Christine. Welcome. Let's come over here and open the chat so I can see everyone. Okay, and then what else do we need to check here? Here. Okay. Okay. So I have some questions here in the chat. You can also unmute yourself and ask the questions if you would like. So let me come over here. Zokchil, hello, welcome. John, welcome. I'm new to the Zoom call. I'm happy to be here. All my love. Zokchil, so happy to see you in the Zoom today. Nicoella, good morning. So wonderful to see you, Nicoella. Has anyone else been experiencing extreme exhaustion and depletion? Yes, I think these moments of depletion often happen when we have imbalanced emotions or subconscious emotions that we're not addressing. So we want to understand where the leakage of our life force is going. And usually what ends up happening when we integrate that depletion is that we end up having a lot more energy. Like almost immediately, people will call back their energy into their body. So that's it. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm getting a little message here on my computer. Hold on a second. Let me fix that. One moment. Okay. You guys can hear me okay now. All right. All right. Let's continue with the questions. How I would love to have all my energy back and not have to leak again. This is simply a matter of self-awareness. It's just a matter of awareness. So I'd love for you to kind of review the emotions that you come into the most throughout the day and take a look at what takes up the majority of your attention. Okay, that's where you're going to find the leak. That's the important thing. So Stephanie, if you're here on the call and you want to share with me, please let me know what it is. Also, a major factor of depletion of life force is resistance. Anytime that we are in resistance with things, if we're trying to control ourselves or others, meaning our expression isn't fluid, it's calculated or it's kind of contracted. Anytime that you are contracting energy, basically, remember, you become a black hole, and that's where energy becomes depleting. Okay. So the idea is to become aware of how you are trying to control resistance, control something external. Maybe you're judging, maybe you are observing, maybe making observations that can be very depleting of life force. Liz says, where does manifestation occur? I had an image appear to me in like a ghostly like aura. Okay, can you clarify this question for me? Because the image, is this something that you manifested or is it just something that appeared to you?
Geraldine, hi. I honestly, I don't know. It was, I wasn't sleeping yet. I was in my bed, and all I know is it almost felt like I was in a pod type environment, and it pushed in towards me, and I could see the body. It was there, like it was like a ghosty, and I don't know where it came from or how. Like I was meditating, I was doing my deep breathing, getting comfortable, and all of a sudden it was like I was in a somewhere else with this thing pushing in at me. And I thought, I didn't know what did that mean?
So,
Did I actually did I cause that, or you know what I mean? Like, was I on a cellular level somewhere else in that whole quantum field? I don't know. Like, I don't know what to make of all of that.
yeah. So, guys, let's remember again, you and I are multidimensional travelers. We are multidimensional explorers. So, when we cultivate the activation of our higher faculties, we will open ourselves up to worlds of things that transcend the physical. So, in this phenomena, when this happens, number one thing is to not be afraid or feel like we're unsafe or to panic when we see these things or even to judge what you're experiencing. Number one, because as soon as you do that, you contract yourself and that can cause a disconnect in the way that you are experiencing this event through frequency. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, as soon as we see something like a ghostly like aura or this kind of images that come into our space, um, we have to begin to understand ourselves and our multidimensional body so well that we understand what we're looking at and where. Every single layer of your body holds a different density of frequency. So in your meditation, when you are accessing something, pay attention to where you're at in your meditation. What was the thought form that you had right before the image came in? What was the emotion? What was the observation? What part of your body were you looking at? What part of your field were you exploring? Because all of this plays a huge role in how you're accessing information. And the more you know yourself, the more you sit in meditation every day and become acquainted with the field, the layers of your field, and the information that you hold within them based on your emotional patterns, thoughts and belief systems, and programs. That's what exists in your field. And this is what we are encountering and uncovering. So a lot of the times when we encounter entities or beings or these kinds of images, just simply notice what part of your field are you tuning into. Okay. And this is an opportunity to use your intuition for discernment. And you can use your seventh and your eighth chakra. When you activate the seventh and the eighth, these are used to align with your highest truth. When you shine them on top of whatever object you're coming in contact with, and begin to observe what is the agreement, what is that is here, is this a blockage? A lot of us, we have what I call pictures in our space. Okay, and pictures are crystallized thought forms that create stagnation in our field. And these pictures, those of you that have done sessions with me, we've kind of uncovered the pictures that are in your space. And some of you, I'd say it's going to take 11 weeks to dissolve this. Okay. We are constantly getting rid of these crystallized thought forms, programs. When you do deprogramming of thought forms, you dissolve these images, these stagnations. All of your stagnant belief systems exist in your field. So in your meditation, you're going to be constantly encountering these strange objects, these strange beings. And the human mind utilizes the human filter, which is quite limited. We only see things as humans and then everything else that we conceptualize as truth or real. And we apply the same imagery to the same thing in order to process some kind of meaning for ourselves. So the more we go into these states of exploration, we have to come into neutral, non-judgmental observation and try the very best to not apply meaning to things from the fear survival mechanism, but to intuitively discern and feel into the object that you're encountering in your space. Because what you'll find is memories that you thought you forgot about, things that you didn't even remember. And these are incredible opportunities for healing. So, for example, I'll give you an example just simply in my meditation today, just looking at the emotions that I'm running through my body. And as soon as sometimes we ignore certain little emotions in order because we're so busy. We have little thoughts, we judge something subconsciously that immediately stores in the body. And if we don't address it, it becomes suppressed and layered. Okay, so looking at an emotion that came up for me, you feel the waves of the emotional data being released from the physical body, from the muscle system. And as it's being released, this image showed up in the third layer of my body. Okay, so let me try to remember exactly what it was. I'll just give you an example because I can't remember right now. But it was just a yellow color, and it immediately took me back to the emotion and a memory that I had a long time ago that was triggered by something that happened yesterday. Okay, so as you observe these things, this is the kind of awareness that you need to have in the meditation, that you are connected with your body, you're connected with your field, you're connected with your intuition, and you use the discernment to understand these different dimensions of yourself. This is super important. Okay, that we do this. And part of the exercise today is about practicing this, but these images, they don't just disappear. Only our vibrational frequency changes like a radio. So anytime that you change your frequency to something else, you're going to be seeing different things. So remember that we want to go through all the range of frequencies. That's how well you're going to know yourself. That's the rainbow body, that you are aware of every layer of your body and you know what's inside you, in and outside you. That's knowing the self. And essentially, nothing can hurt you or harm you. That's where you understand that you are actually the creator of all things around you. So yeah. So and then you asked, where does manifestation occur? So we are constant co-creators. And again, based on how our radio dial is tuned in, we are creating. Okay. So this is really important. We have infinite potential in both directions. Infinite potential in the dark, infinite potential in the light. Okay, so that means that you can create in any one direction, but your creations will have a different result. One, creating in the dark, for example, or in this shadow aspects of ourselves are counter creations, because the lifespan, the longevity of the wave has a limit. It's finite. It becomes an inversion and a cycling system. It becomes a closed loop of information. Okay, so that's counter creation. Going into the expansion, white light is expansive. So you have infinite potential in an expansive way of creation. Okay, so it's about longevity. It's an open system of creation. So how we manifest depends on the core intention, the electrical charge that you're inputting into what you're experiencing. If the charge that you put into something is rooted in fear subconsciously, but you have a smile on the face, it's going to be a closed loop creation. It will result in death. It will result in illness. It will be finite, and it will be perpetuating suffering, because it's a cycle of inversion. It's a closed loop. Okay, so it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. You can experience that all your life, but just remember that that has a consequence on the physical, because we're in the three-dimensional plane where the physical organism requires a certain level of vibrational frequency in order to operate at its optimum state. So our manifestation is the combination between the intention and the charge that we put into the creation. And manifestations happen multidimensionally. That's another thing I wanted to let you know, really important, that when you co-create something, when you're creating something, you're creating it very multidimensionally. And the more you know yourself, you'll understand that how you're creating is a combination of the different chakra centers that input into that creation system. I was just thinking about that earlier before I got into the call. Uh, in reference to anger, for example, what happens to your body when you come into anger? Okay. First of all, the root chakra opens wide open because number one, we are in survival because we are in resistance to what we're doing. We don't either understand or accept what we're experiencing, or there's a disassociation between what we're experiencing and what we know to be true inherently. So this disconnect results in a survival mechanism because we're not sure how to navigate this disassociation situation. The sacral chakra, the front of the chakra becomes contracted. Why? Because the front of the body is the masculine, it is the action. The back of the body is the subconscious. So the sacral chakra in the back is still moving, but it's contracted. So what happens with people that become angry, they become stagnant, or their exchanges are out of balance. Either they become stagnant and still, or they're overly expressive, angry, they can hurt people, they want to punch a wall or do something like that. Those kinds of reactions occur because the sacral is out of balance. The solar plexus is the center of empowerment. So this becomes a condensed, very, very small system. So it becomes shrink and stagnant, the solar plexus. The human becomes disempowered, and the heart chakra becomes paralyzed. Okay. The throat chakra will either expand, but it's going to be in an imbalanced masculine. Okay, so we have to take a look at how we embody the mat. So all of these systems that just totally readjusted in order to express anger, they're going to have different variations for people because, of course, there's a million different examples of how we can express anger. But the human will essentially change that entire vibrational frequency of the body. We will change shapes vibrationally. And this is the manifestation. It is a language. It is a word. It is a form that is being created by your vibrational intention. So that's manifestation. In the field, in the output system of that, it becomes resonance to attract the things that match that experience. It is a closed loop of counter creation, which means that we're going to be repeating the same thing. We're going to meet people that trigger the same emotion over and over again. And we're going to replay and recreate that until we break the pattern that is encoded neurologically, because that's a neuron patterns that we are reinforcing through that anger. And anger can really be a very strong reinforcement, and it can be very subconscious. So this manifestation process is multidimensional in that it affects mind, body, and soul. And that's important because that all is encoded in your DNA. And essentially, you are either manifesting, you're not manifesting in your life, which is what happens with family lineages that are suppressing emotion for generations. They have a lot of lack programs, poverty, violence, despair, all of these heavy, heavy traumas, collective traumas that are embedded in the core of the human are blocking manifestation. Creation is the integration of the two, father and mother, divine feminine, masculine, integrate into a balanced state in order to create the third. So this manifestation is essentially the integration of all imbalanced systems. When the anger is transmuted, this body changes shape again, and it becomes an expansive co-creation, and it can then input into the system something that will have longevity because it's creative, it's co-creative, as opposed to counter-creative, which will not manifest. It will go into a closed loop of self-destructive cycles. Okay, and this is really interesting when you start to study psychologically traumas and suffering, because you really begin to notice, wow, how powerful our subconscious is in the co-creation cycles. A lot of us have a tremendous amount of subconscious beliefs that on the outside, we might be thinking we're doing everything we need to do to have a successful life. And we wonder why we can't get forward, why we still stuck, why we can't do this. It's these subconscious beliefs that can be protected by survival mechanisms. because our body has been programmed to believe this is how you survive. If you don't have this mechanism, if you don't play this program, you will die, is essentially what the body believes. So, this is the initiation, the process of deprogramming that program and reprogramming it is here. The key is to feel safe in surrender, which is one of the most difficult things for humans, especially those of us that have a lot of trauma. To be able to feel safe in surrender is the key to massive co-creation. And those of you that have experienced little touches of that in your life know that when you come into that empowered state of integration, you can manifest whatever you want. And I know this for a fact as a formula in my own life, that when I come into those states, I mean, it's magic. You experience magic as a human. It can be so simple. You need a car space, the space opens up. You need this opportunity, the opportunity arrives. But the human has to be in constant development to know when to grab those opportunities and to apply them. And that again requires that state. So that is about that manifestation. And then, okay, so and then to answer your question in a way, what are we creating? What are we not creating? We create everything, Liz. So in the field, when you come up with these images, or when you see an ET being or some god or an angelic being in your space, these are all fractals of our own self that we are encountering. And so what we want to understand in this constant evolution of infinite dimensions of ourselves is how to discern who we're interacting with. So whatever appears to you, again, it's all from the subconscious, even the beings that you encounter. That's why I said that explanation, because everything that you're experiencing is a projection, it's an initiation, it's an invitation. So we want to utilize those experiences. Liza says, using our daughters as a way to manipulate and ensue conflict. Since I no longer engage with that individual in a way where he can feed off my energy, he uses my child. I can't see this little thing. He uses my child to try and upset me. I have done well. Oh, our child. I have done well overall in not feeding into it, but difficult when my daughter then feeds into it and causes conflict between us. Yeah, this is a difficult situation, but Liza, my love, here's the thing that's really important that I've noticed working with families that have gone through this, because this is a very common thing that happens when we go through these separations, and then we have someone that is an imbalanced state that uses manipulation. Okay. What I discovered is that when you talk to the child when they're older, there is a severe amount of guilt and shame around the choices, because they were incapable of discerning and understanding why they came to that conclusion. They were manipulated, but as a child, they don't understand how or why that happened. Okay, so depending on the age of your daughter, I think it's really important that we speak to our children with as much clarity, directly, openly, and truth as possible. And sometimes we think that we are keeping some things to keep them safe, some truths about their relationships with things. But in many cultures, this has been a study that was done, having these open conversations, very honest conversations about who people are, really, really help the child understand their own discernment. So the only thing I would say in this is that make sure that your communication with the child is always coming from absolute authenticity, because we have to notice, how do we manipulate? Sometimes we hide certain truths in the idea that we're going to protect our child, and that this is also a kind of form of manipulation. Okay. And bear with me, there are always little things that we want to be cautious of course. But try to speak with the child with as much truth as possible, unemotionally, because the child feels the tug and pull between the family members, and that causes a tremendous amount of inability for the child to create their own identity. This is what happens. The child becomes disassociated from themselves, and then they become completely confused about what's right, what's wrong, and it creates invitations for escapism, wanting to, run away from the situation, do things, activities that will pull them away from their emotions that are overwhelming for them to feel. So I guess as a human and as a parent, the two ways that I would hold space for the child is try to come in as much truth as possible, as is compassionately possible for the child to take on, and then allow the child to come into their own discernment and respect that discernment, respect that choice, because eventually this is a karmic lesson for the three in the family, and it all lies at the root of truth. We are all the humans in this family are learning truth and discernment. So our participation in that is to hold space in truth and to hopefully teach the child through our own vibrational frequency how to emanate and vibrate in truth, which is never fearful, which is never worried, which is never controlling, which is never manipulative, because otherwise we go into the same cycle as the person that is doing the manipulations again. Because we might feel like, oh my God, I wish the child wouldn't follow through with this, or, he's being manipulated or she's being manipulated. And then we have this sadness and this wanting to protect and attachment. So all of these, we have to regulate our own emotions, come into neutrality, come into as much truth as possible, communicate as best and openly as we can with the child, and then let the child make the choice. Because otherwise, we fall into that. And later, when the child develops and grows up, uh, unfortunately, they will have to face these difficult situations. And it's part of the choice of lesson of coming into this family. It's part of that lesson. So all we can do is have unconditional love, support them when they're ready to come, always be there to love them, and try not to come into any kind of judgment. Okay, just open, clear communication. That's what I would say. And Liza, I know that I kind of talked about this before in other groups, but we can work with our families on higher levels. Okay, so how you work with family contracts, and I think I did a video on this before, but we need to work with breaking our karmic contracts with our family, neutralizing, and work with every single member of your family using your 7th and 8th chakras, shining your light on them to look at the contracts that we have. In our families, our contracts are huge, they're deep, and we have to understand the root program. Once you understand that, it dissolves, and it, in a way, it rebalances the energetic field so that the power goes back to a neutral. So if somebody is in a manipulative state, it kind of brings into a lesser disempowerment of this intention that's trying to occur. Okay, so
things, I will say that things have gotten better, and I've worked a lot on the familiar family contracts
yeah,
and being as open as possible with my daughter. And she does recognize and see the manipulation. But I think sometimes for her, it's hurtful because it is her father and she does love him. And I understand that. But she's also a teenager, so I'm also dealing with hormones too. So, there are times where, again, he manages to finagle his way in and it causes conflict. And I'm human. I try not to let it impact me. And I've gotten a lot better about being at that 0 point and really seeing it for what it is. And sometimes when I hold that space, it diffuses her. But sometimes I too can get irritated and annoyed and upset.
I completely understand, Liza. It's so wonderful in this work. I know you've been working for many years and doing this. I mean, you're an example. And so neutralizing those contracts, I mean, this is part of the experience with people. But I think the next most important thing is to teach the child to learn how to work with their emotions. And this really should be something that we should teach our children at an early age as best as we can, to help equip them with the proper tools to learn how to fully process emotions and how to get the insights and the deep information that they need, the lessons that they need from the emotional triggers. This is a lifelong tool that will help them to, make major changes in their lives, because otherwise they are creating trauma within themselves in vivo, in the moment. So that's something that I would love to share with the child as well. But you're doing great. Stephanie says, I've been feeling extremely contracted due to being in environments that do not nurture who I am. And at the same time, I'm wondering why I keep manifesting these environments. Well, it's right there. This cycle has been coming up a lot for a lot of people. And the reason why is because we are readjusting vibrational frequencies in this entire world. Every single one of you, we're all moving through changes globally. Okay, so the entire collective vibrational frequency is changing, which will change who we are interacting with in our present life. Okay, so the question is, what part of you doesn't feel worthy or doesn't feel courageous enough to embody the other that we're hoping to get? Because there's parts of us that don't trust. Subconsciously, we don't trust ourselves that we'll be able to hold space for us in another environment. This is comfortable. It's something that has become familiar. So believe it or not, if we have any level of familiarity with this, we kind of self-sabotage in creating these experiences. And we need to reinforce, we need to create a strong foundation for the human that now is in the other where we want to be. Okay, so let's say we want to be in high vibrational environments. What part of you doubts that you'll be able to hold your space there? What part of you has insecurities? What part of you is afraid? Sometimes we're even afraid that we might fail. Okay, so take a look at those. Those would be my invitation. In the chat, Ice Lily, Shirley, so great to have you. Please put your questions in capital letters. Rebecca Nida Manuri, how do we save ourselves when we feel blocked from meditating? Also, my 2-year-old, my wish is to heal so that I can see him in his higher self with less trauma as possible. I'm learning unconditional love too. How do we save ourselves when we feel blocked from meditating? Okay, so the block from meditation is resistance to see your resistance for strong emotions. Okay, we have strong emotions that we resist feeling, that we're running away from. And we are confused. A lot of people are feeling very confused right now with their emotions and in the process of discernment. So this again boils down. When we meditate, we have to face ourselves. When we are in stillness and silence, we have to look at all the things that we have been running away from, that we have been entertaining ourselves with, whatever it is, keeping ourselves busy. The nervous system is addicted to the chemicals that are creating this pleasure sensation by being distracted. Okay, so it's an addiction. We are addicted, that we have to break this addiction. Okay, and how do you break that addiction is essentially requires us to force yourself to sit down and to learn to become friends with the silence. Regulate your nervous system, come into absolute stillness in this silence. And you're going to have to work with your nervous system, because the nervous system is so used to being, stimulated by trauma, by things, by exciting, believe it or not, trauma is exciting to some of us. It creates this chemical that allows us to feel alive sometimes. It gives the ego purpose. It gives the ego meaning because it's all we know. So we have to deprogram these belief systems in order to allow a new way of being. This is the new human that we've all been talking about for such a long time. The new human has a regulated nervous system. And the regulated nervous system is not easily manipulated or exalted or addicted to any of these chemicals that are triggered by past or future mental instructions. It's in the present moment. And in the now, in this exact moment right now, you have the choice to be in complete stillness, in silence with yourself. And so in that moment, you're going to meet all kinds of emotions that you've been suppressing. The most important part for you is to not judge what comes up, to just observe the things that come up without judgment. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't get lost in the stories of the events that have been happening to you in your life. Focus purely on the information that comes up as emotional data, which you will receive through the body. Okay, so as soon as an emotion comes up, and we're going to do that today in our workshop, we're going to jump into that in just a moment, to begin to observe the emotions that come up and notice the different systems that are responding and reacting to each one of those emotions. That's the level of observation that we have to have. Once you get over that initial hump, okay, you will embody bliss and peace, and you will be embodying truth. Another way to interrupt this system is by going into nature. Okay, immediately when you go into nature, your entire vortex begins to spin fast. Your body comes into higher alignment. Your brain goes into alpha state, and it will be easier for you to regulate your nervous system in nature. If you are afraid of nature, then you are programmed in profound survival mode, and we have a lot of trauma that has been unresolved. So for even more reason, go into nature, go into a park, go into a forest. The forest is the best. And the reason why is because trees have toroidal fields, energy fields that are cyclical, just like everything else. And the cyclical movement of the tree is cleansing, just like the ocean. Okay, so remember that the spiral pattern of this universe is this Fibonacci cycle, which is cyclical systems. Our body functions in that way. When we have trauma, we're not spinning and we're not moving the toroidal field. So when we go into nature, it unclogs that because you are forced into an environment of movement, of balanced movement and flow. That's nature. Okay, so trees, let me see if I can find that image for you because it's really a really beautiful understanding that trees have this toroidal field that cleanse the energetic system of the body. And I have a couple of my favorite trees that I go to, that I have connected with, I bonded with, and I clean my energy with them when I go on walks every morning. Okay, so I invite you to find your tree, the tree that speaks to you, and to work with that tree in your energetic field. Because it's incredibly healing. And I'm going to show you something I wanted to show you because I went to the beach earlier this week as well, is that the beach also works in spiral patterns of cleansing. Bear with me one moment while I find this image for you. Okay, let me share the screen with you. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, see how the tree has these fields of energy around them, okay? So right here on the bottom left, here's some ways that you can use this tree energy. Very, very important. So the way that the energy moves in a tree is just like the bottom right one right here. You see how it creates a cycle of energy. So the tree itself has its own toroidal system, okay, of energy. And the system also runs underneath your feet, by the way, underneath the feet. The runways of energy in the ground underneath you also function like waves of energy that move positive, negative charges out of your body, especially negative charges out of the body, okay? So what it allows you to do is that your own toroidal field here, remember that you have your own toroidal field, becomes cleansed because it comes in alignment. It comes in resonance. The heart goes into coherence with this hertz, with the vibrational frequency of nature. And you can also heal and restore the body utilizing tree energy. Okay. So it's a really powerful, powerful system of cleansing. And the ocean functions in the same way. Remember that the waves, they curl up and to create spiral motions. The spiral motion that water creates in that movement is also clearing. It functions as a tug and pull, like a contraction and expansion of energy, that every wave, you pull energy into the body and it releases. When that wave curls under, it pulls. So that pulling sensation when you go to the beach is really powerfully cleansing. For those of you that are doing home clearings or go to haunted places or really heavy places, or have experienced deaths or have been doing a lot of energy work with people, go to the ocean to clean your energy at the end of your week, please. It's really, really important that you do that. It's part of your energetic hygiene. Okay. So let's go over here. Stephanie says, oh no, I read that one already. Okay, sleep apnea. How do we deal with sleep apnea? So, sleep apnea can be fixed with regulating the nervous system during your waking state. Okay, again, meditation. We have sleep apnea is developed by being in a constant survival mode during your waking state. And that waking state is basically we are interrupting the cycles of breath in the body. So this requires two things. Number one, absolute presence during your day, absolute embodiment of your present. Come fully into your body and breathe from the base of your belly. Okay. And as you breathe from the base of the belly, make that a habit throughout your day. Anytime that you come into survival mode, anytime that you are triggered by something, train yourself to come back to that breath. The more you meditate and create gray matter in your brain, the more it will help regulate and open the airway passages here in the sinus. Okay, that's another important thing. So please meditate on a daily basis, at least 30 minutes a day, in order to begin to reinforce your system. And by the time you keep practicing this, I've worked with many clients. Also, hypnotherapy helps a lot for sleep apnea. Okay. Because we begin to deprogram the root subconscious beliefs. Okay. We've been through a lot of trauma, especially childhood trauma, where we've had uninterrupted sleep, sometimes a lot of violence, feelings of being unsafe in the home. This has to be really, really changed. Okay. So meditation on a daily basis, practicing breath before sleep, hypnosis. And when you're sleeping, you want to bring the brain into alpha state before you sleep. So you're going to ground, you're going to come fully into the body. You're going to close the first three chakras, open the top three. And you're going to visualize that you're spinning your vortex really fast as you begin to fall asleep. Okay. This will allow you to leave your body quicker. And what will happen is that the body will regulate. The body will regulate and repair itself on its own. And please, please go into nature as well, because the body, the cells of the body have been interrupted for such a long time that they're not following the cycles of Earth. And we need to reconnect with nature in order to readdress that. So yeah, if you want to work on that in hypnotherapy, just let me know. I'll be happy to assist them. Does a lake have the same benefit as an ocean? Yes, it does. But it's different. It's different because if this lake has waves, the thing about the ocean is that it has a powerful cyclical cleansing system. Okay. It's different than a lake. Usually lake is a stagnant energy. Unless it's a very large lake that does have waves, maybe then, okay? But a lake is a little bit different. It really depends on where it's located. A lot of lakes have a different kind of energy that is actually moving in this spiral motion, more like a vortex type of system, energy system. Rather than pulling this way, it's pulling this way. Okay, so we can use that as well for healing. It's a regenerative cycle, but more cleansing quicker will be actually being closer to the trees. The trees will cleanse easier. It's good to go into water. Water is always healing, but if we're using energy, the trees are more cyclical. Okay. What about teeth grinding at night? Same thing. I used to grind my teeth big time. I mean, really, really clenching the teeth when I was a child. And mind you, I've been meditating since 2008. I was really grinding my teeth, but by 2010, I was able to completely stop completely. Okay. And I didn't even realize that was happening, but my jaws were so tight and I would just clench and clench, clench. And this is again, survival mechanisms. When we have a lot of family or environments that are constantly in stress and anxiety and dramas, we take that into dream state and the body doesn't even rest. This is how we have insomnia. This is how we can't get full levels of sleep. Our muscles are tight. Even when we're sleeping, we're like holding on. Okay. So of course you're not going to get proper rest. So again, you need to learn how to regulate the nervous system, meditate, practice daily, releasing all of your muscles until you feel like a puddle of water. Okay. Imagine coming into absolute expansion. And it'll be very hard for some of you because the body is going to want to contract. You might even, some of my clients have even felt nauseous when they were contracting the muscles because they're holding on to so much emotional data, so much resistance and contraction. And we might not even realize how much we're clenching ourselves. In fact, right now, if you tune into your body, what part of you are you clenching? Okay, what part of your muscles are tight right now? I bet a lot of you are not aware of the kind of where your bodies are in resistance. When we watch TV or when we watch something, we forget about our body. Okay, so the poor body is just going back to the cyclical mechanisms that it knows of survival since there's nobody home. So we have to bring ourselves fully into the body and to learn how to experience all things with absolute presence. Okay, absolute presence. That's embodied presence. Art, that's incredible. I can't wait. Greg says, question, if you are leaving the body during sleep, does sleep affirmations still get picked up by the subconscious, or is it a waste to use affirmations at night? No, it's not a waste to use them at night. But definitely remember that your sleep time is very important for you to recover. And having complete sleep, remember that when you have something playing in the background like affirmations, there are these 24-hour videos of affirmations where you just let it play, which is okay. But the truth is that your body can take on the affirmation more when you are consciously receptive and attentive and processing it deeply into your subconscious mind. You can actually do that within maybe a 2-hour meditation or a 1-hour meditation a day, focusing fully on processing and understanding deeply, receiving this new understanding. So I would say that that's more productive because what happens is that just like TV, that we have these things running in the back end, yes, they are subliminal programs, but also your body is putting a lot of energy in subconsciously picking up that information. So some of you might feel tired after having these affirmations running and running and running because you're not really consciously, attentively intaking that information, but your energy is directed double, in trying to recover and regenerate the body and also programming this new information. So it's really important to honor the processes of our body in the present moment and be connecting with the body, allowing consciously to regenerate the systems of the body in your dream state. We want to try to come into as much neutrality throughout our day, in our nervous system, in the muscle system, in the biochemical system, so that when you go to sleep between 10 and 2 a.m., your organs regenerate. They will regenerate on their own. The more we align with nature, the more we align with these systems, the body comes into its highest optimum state naturally. So yeah, so Art says, I've been listening to binaural beats all night. Is that helpful? Again, sometimes it's helpful. Okay, pay attention to that, because our mind needs to recover. It needs space, and the best way to recover the mind is to do the emotional healing, the emotional shadow work. Because even if you play binaural newts and then you're completely covered in these traumatic emotions, those are not going to have a lot of effect on you, because you're not in resonance to them. So it's just going to be another thing that your body is trying to process. You need to also be receptive, in alignment with these notes. Everything has to be done very consciously. Nothing is just done unconsciously. Yeah. Can you say anything about the effects of being inside the vortex of a moving water wave? I mean, it's absolute. So for example, like surfing, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful because the energy is cleansing the body. And I was actually drawing this to put in a presentation to show you guys next week about the waves in the water, but we ended up talking about it today. I guess I slacked off on that. I wonder if I can find a picture of a water wave. Let's see. I don't know. I wasn't able to find it. I was just going to draw it myself, but yeah. So again, the sacred geometry that is available for you in the water wave is, of course, the same as with all beautiful things that we have in our universe. Here we go. Let me share this screen with you. Okay, so anytime that we come into in alignment with any of the spirals that are constantly around us, in and around us in nature, we have the ability of accessing, aligning with truth in a way. Okay, so if we spin, we come into these vortices that are created in nature. It cleanses your system. It cleanses your energetic field. That's why a lot of people that surf, it's like it feels like meditation for them, because it brings them back into that neutral state. It brings them back into that very meditative, calm state. It's cleansing your field energetically. And you can do the same thing with Qigong. When you do Qigong, you are working with the energy in your body, and you are directing and moving that energy out. That's why it's always really helpful to do Qigong in nature, because you are utilizing the energetic tide waves of our environment to move energy. Okay, so it's always about contraction and expansion, receiving and letting go. Okay, so when your body aligns with this, it's very healing, incredibly healing. Great. So I was wondering if we could access some of these slides to study them. Yes, absolutely. You can grab them on my website. These particular slides are not going to be up. I'm just now making them for you, so I'll put them up. Okay. All right. So for today's workshop, there's so many questions, but we'll get to them a little bit later. Let me grab my notebook because I made notes. Okay, so I want everybody to please, if you can, grab a little notebook or a piece of paper to write something on. If you can please grab that, that would be fantastic. My microphone's falling apart here. And so we're going to do a little exercise today to take a look at the topic that's been coming up a lot with anger, with strong emotions such as anger or resentment or any strong emotion that's coming up. Okay. And we're going to kind of look into creating a formula for the transmutation of these strong emotions. Whatever emotion that you're feeling, you're going to create a formula for yourself. And I'm going to show you how to make that formula. So in your notebook, I want you to come into meditative state. Inhale and exhale. And with every breath you take, allowing yourself to come into a state of complete neutrality, complete relaxation. Breathing. I want you to tune in now to your body. And it's going to be really, really clear, really, really obvious for you. What's the emotion that you've been most coming into today or yesterday? I want you to feel into the stillness, come into absolute stillness in your body. The more still you are, the easier it will be to access the information. So as you come into this absolute stillness, what's going on in your body right now, today, at this moment? What emotion is coming up for you? What thought form? We're going to train our brain to not get caught up in the stories that come up, but simply redirect your attention to the emotion that comes up. Okay, so you can be aware of all the situations and the events that have been happening, anything you've been experiencing in the past 24 hours, in the past day. Okay, go ahead and tune into that emotion. I want you to be present with that emotion. And you'll know it. You'll notice the part of your body that is tense right now, the part of the body that is holding on to information. That's where your mind will be directed towards. Okay. So as you tune into that emotion, be absolutely present with it. It can be a sensation in the body. I want you to describe the sensation that is in your body with emotions. So if you feel a tightness in the belly, I want you to feel into that tightness, and I want you to describe that tightness as an emotion. It can be a very uncomfortable feeling. Describe it in an emotion. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and in your little notebook, go ahead and make a list of those emotions that begin to come up in that discomfort. Be as receptive, as honest, and as precise as possible Let the information flow. Do not doubt what you're feeling. Just write down the list. Use adjectives to describe these sensations in your body and emotions. If you're not sure if it's an emotion or not, just write it down. Okay. So from these emotions, which one would you say is the strongest of this list? Which one do you feel the strongest? Feel and answer with your body. Your body will tell you. Okay, so as you begin to look at that emotion now that you've identified, go ahead and take, once again, connecting with your body. I want you to pay attention to parts of your body that as you feel that emotion, your body will tense up. That emotion will move around in your body. You'll feel it. Okay. And who do you feel that emotion towards now? Just notice at the root of this emotion, do you feel it towards yourself or others? Okay. And as you observe this, I want you to begin to observe and make a list of all the reasons in this emotion that you feel this. So as you make a list of all these reasons why you feel this way, I want you to notice what is your participation in feeling this way. How much of this list do we participate? What's our participation in each one of those points that you wrote down? I want you to next to it write, what is your participation? What are some of the reasons that you have a hard time loving yourself, accepting yourself? Write it down. So go ahead and take a look at that and what the conclusions that you've come to here, this list that you created. So these are essentially what runs our subconscious vibrational frequency. Okay. So next to that on the list, or you can do it on the paper next to you, on the next page, I want you to look at what would be the opposite of this list. Okay, so go down the list. How would you alchemize these things on this list? So everything that you reject about yourself, everything that makes it hard for you to love yourself, what would be the opposite of that? So we're going to go back into meditation now that you have this list. I just want you to look at that list that you made of all the things. When I did this exercise this morning, some of the things that I came up with as my list for solutions was to go into nature, to accept. There was a lot of acceptance in my list. Okay, accepting, and things that I could change and that I could fix, to fix them. Also noticing how I avoid fixing them, afraid of fixing them, delaying, for whatever reason. But this is how we learn how to love ourselves. Okay, that we begin to get very clear on how our understanding of self-love becomes distorted. Okay, so my answers were to love myself deeply, uh, instead of looking outside, to look inside, or if I was desiring something, to look within, um, to transmute any kind of heavy emotions, any deep emotions, judgments, to transmute them, to come into a neutral state. Acceptance again, and forgiveness. Forgiveness was a huge one. There was a lot of elements in which I didn't forgive myself. Number one, didn't forgive myself for so many things. And that creates a profound subconscious resentment that blocks you from making things in your life, manifesting, making changes, healing your body. It stagnates illness in the body. Okay. And of course, acceptance in general is one of the largest things, coming into consciousness. So anytime that we are feel guilt or shame or judge ourselves for not being where we need to be, how do we transmute that? Okay, it's radical self-acceptance, because the more we resist, the more we're delaying ourselves from understanding truth here in the present moment. And you will never heal if you can't accept truth in the present, whatever it is, no matter how severe, difficult, or how much you resist or judge what you're experiencing, it will never allow you to move forward. And another big one that came up was betrayal of the self. How many times do we betray ourselves? It can be with very subtle little things. It could be with an invitation to go somewhere, and it's like, you don't want to go, but you go anyway, just to appease, or to belong, or to just have fun. We have all of these mixed ideas about how we need to perform or how we need to be in our lives. I want you to question that this week. How many times do you betray yourself throughout this week? Or how many times have you betrayed yourself last week? How many times does your intuition tell you something and you deliberately not follow that? You go and do the other thing that you weren't supposed to do. Okay, so this is the formula for self-love. It's acceptance, forgiveness, present moment, and loyalty to yourself, being loyal to this self, being authentic and truthful in your actions and your thoughts. So what I want you to do is I want you to come into meditation now, and we're going to integrate this into the body. So we're going to come into our running energy. Go ahead and come into stillness. I want you to begin to shrink the first chakra, coming into a state of neutrality. Okay, go ahead and shrink that chakra front and back. Coming into the sacral, shrinking that chakra front and back. Coming into the solar plexus, shrinking it. Entire body. Going into the heart, expanding that heart body. Into the throat, expanding the throat. Going into the third eye, expanding the third eye. Okay, going into the seventh and eighth, activating the seventh and eighth. We're going to align our intention with our highest expression. Go ahead and enter it into the area of your career. Intention is really important. Everything that you do has to have a clear intention. You have to know why you're doing it. There's no room for manipulation or unconscious behavior. Okay, so go ahead and enter your highest vibrational frequency into the area of your career. Are you there because you want to be? Are you aligning with this or not? Bring it in. Setting the intention that if you're not in alignment, that you change the frequency, your radio dial, in alignment with the things that are nourishing, supporting, expansive for you. That's what we're doing here. Okay, let's go to relationships. Same thing. Setting the intention that our relationships are in alignment with truth, with harmony, with creation. Going into abundance, aligning with our highest co-creation abilities. Truth. Health. Speaking to every cell in the body right now, asking the cells to come into alignment, to come into their truth. And that we listen and that we take action in changing our lives, whether it's our diets, whether it's our activities, the people we're around, the thoughts that we're thinking. We are embodying health. Okay, let's go into intimate relationships, our partnerships. Are we in alignment? Are we just in partnerships for need or for fear of being lonely? Or are we actively co-creating? Are we in love with ourselves and the other? And finally, your purpose. What are you here to do? As a seeker of truth, are you embodying what you're here to do? Are you afraid of what you're here to do? Are you intimidated by your power? Are you intimidated by your truth? Go ahead and fill it in with your highest expression as you set the intention that this week you're in surrender, in alignment with your highest expression, allowing the universe to work through us as we embody what we're here to do. Bring harmony and balance inside out. We're going to bring a powerful wave of green healing energy from the center of the earth as it comes rushing up into the body, creating a vortex of energy. Okay, we're going to pull up that green life force that we talked about, that we find in nature, to clean and regenerate the cells of the body. Remembering to breathe down to the base of the spine, into the belly. Okay, begin spinning your vortex. Move your energy. From source, bringing down a powerful wave of golden cosmic light that comes down through the crown of your head, combining with the green earth energy. Expansive creative life force neutralizes any stagnation in this organism. Okay, go ahead and send 10% of that back down to the center of the earth, creating a channel of elimination. As we let Mother Earth recycle all of this stagnation that we're holding on to, all these negative charges that we took on and we created in the body as a result of disconnect with nature, disconnect with ourselves. Let's realign the body back into balance. Okay, take that final 10%, you're going to bring it into the body now, absorbing into the core, into the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level of your body. Nourishing the body, healing the body, regenerating, rejuvenating, re-energizing. Breathing. Good. I just want you to observe all the fractals of yourself that have been created this week as a result of trauma, as a result of stress, anxiety, dramas in the families, friends, relationships with our own self. Take a look at all the parts of you that have been experiencing separation this week, in any way, in any form. Any part of you that has been in dormant state, disconnected. Take a moment to observe each one of these parts of you through your body. You're going to feel your body shifting and changing as you feel the sensations of your own suffering from the week. Okay, so a breathe through, bringing expansion into every one of those emotions that might come up. And you're going to come into neutral state as you observe each one of these parts of you. And let's begin to work with them. One by one, I want you to look and see, what do they need in order to reconnect? All the parts of you that are in survival, what do they need in order to no longer be in survival? Any parts of you that are in fear or severe angers or emotions? What do they need? What are they trying to tell us? Simply acknowledge the emotion and acknowledge what would be the opposite of that. How would you transmute that? What is the core need of this part of us, this fractal of ourselves? How do we heal? In other words, how do we become whole again from this separation that occurred in this momentary experience? How do you transmute this perception of separation into one of unity? How do you regulate the nervous system from an exalted state into a state of peace and harmony? You'll begin to see the root core of your thoughts that trigger vulnerability into these situations, into these triggers, into these emotions. And here you can find your work. So as you begin to identify the core belief that is at the root of all of these suffering and separation parts of you, begin to see them in front of you as one. What is it that they need? What do they all have in common? What are they all suffering about? What causes them the belief system that weakens their ability to see themselves as whole, that embodies their separation? What do they need in order to believe otherwise, to see truth? Always ask the question, is it true what they believe? If it is, what do we need to change it? If it's not, what's another way? As you begin to notice how the source of your happiness, the source of your worth, your self-worth, the source of your acceptance, validation, acknowledgement, all comes back to you. The question is, will you give it to yourself? And as you begin to allow yourself to begin to provide yourself with that, fill yourself up with what you need. Infuse your body, the cells of your body, with this new information. Identify the belief systems that block you from believing that you are worthy, that you are whole, you are perfect exactly where you are. Or rather, there was nothing wrong with you to begin with. It just requires your acceptance. Okay, so begin to observe all the parts of you that you have judged, either yourself or others, and begin the process of forgiveness now. and acceptance. As you begin to accept yourself, you'll notice that your body comes into a deeper state of relaxation and expansion. The muscles begin to expand. You might even be able to breathe deeper. And as you dive into that acceptance, begin to allow, maybe there's room for peace that comes over you, an internal harmony. We are no longer at war with ourselves, within ourselves. And therefore, as we begin to look out and up around us, we begin to notice there's no need for war externally. And this is exactly how you change the world. Choosing timelines collectively. I want you to visualize a color that represents what you have learned here today. Okay? Whether it's the forgiveness that you needed, whether it's the worthiness that you needed, whether it's the peace, whatever it is that you discovered that you need to transmute. I want you to feel yourself. I want you to select the color that represents that. And I want you to surround your field. You're going to fill your entire bubble with this color and infuse it into your body. Breathing. Okay, you're going to start by opening the root chakra back up, spinning it as fast as possible. Go ahead and expand the root chakra front and back, bringing it back into a balanced state. Remember, it's like you're expanding petals of a flower. Notice if there's any of these little petals of your chakra that have been contracted or broken. You are repairing your entire field. Go up into the sacral. I'm going to do the same. And at the same time, I want you to look at your field for any pictures that might be coming up. You're going to use your intuition now to read your field. See if you see any pictures. Pictures can be random objects, shapes, things, shadows. What do you see in each one of these layers? As soon as you identify them, clear them out of your space. Okay, notice the readjustment that occurs in the body when you release them. It's incredible healing and readjustment. Okay. Go into the solar plexus now. Same thing, opening it back up into a balanced state, repairing the field completely into its whole self, front and back, and clear of any kind of pictures. You can visualize vacuuming it up, burning it up, turning it into water, turning it into smoke, pulling it out of your field, whatever feels real to you. And you can send it down to the center of the earth or out into the universe. Okay, go into your heart chakra now. As it is expanded, make sure that the entire fourth layer of your field is whole, complete, and clear now of all blockages and pictures. Go into your fifth field now. Same thing, spin it as fast as possible. Heal the field. Clear the field. You're now working in the subconscious level of your body. Go up to the sixth layer, same thing. You guys are doing amazing. Okay, notice how your field has become brighter, more solid, more whole, more organized. Okay. Your vibrational frequency has changed completely. Go up to your seventh and your eighth now. Illuminate the eighth, send it down to the seventh. Fill the seventh and eighth chakra, the entire field with this color. As you align yourself to be a match in resonance with your highest vibrational expression, no matter where you go, what you do, in waking state or in dream state. You're going to activate the ninth layer of your body, expand it. The 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Expand the 17th layer of your body. Expand the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21, and 22. Okay, so now you've activated the 22 layers of your body. I want you to sit here in the 22nd dimensional layer of your body for a moment. I just want you to get familiar with this space. I want you to align yourself here. Just observe what it feels like to be here. Is it neutral? Is it easy to come into non-judgment? Is it easy to come into love? Is it easier to discern and get clear, to have clarity? Okay. So I want you to keep yourself here. Try to maintain yourself here as you are in the waking state. Go ahead and open your eyes, and as you come back into the room, I want you to ground yourself down to the center of the earth. I want you to, with your eyes open, bring white source light from source down to the crown of your head. I want you to activate the chakra between the heart and the solar plexus. Go ahead and expand that, closing the loop of energy. Opening your accessibility to higher frequency. Okay, so bring that pillar of white light down through your body, through the perineum, into the center of the earth. Anchor it. Okay, you don't have to try anything. You don't have to do anything. Just be in this state of presence. Excellent work. You guys did amazing. Welcome. Welcome back. You guys are beautiful. Thank you so much for working with me today. It was such an honor to be here and sharing this time with you. I'm going to open the floor for some final questions. Anybody in the Zoom chat? If I missed any of your questions, anybody in the chat on YouTube, thank you so much for your amazing questions. You guys have so many wonderful questions. Let me see here. Taylor Brown says, what benefits does weight lifting exercises have energetically? They have a lot of benefit. And I actually talked about this, I believe, in the alchemical challenge, if I'm not mistaken. But our bones and muscles and nervous system are different densities of vibrational frequency that make up our body. It's crystallized information. And so in order for this body to come into its highest optimum state, we need to bring it into its highest health. And how we did that in the past was living in nature. When you live in nature, when you're connected to nature, you're very active at all times. And that allows you to have a very good physique. If you, for example, those that live in the forest or in nature, you have very healthy body and you have a lot of muscles structure because you're building that muscle constantly. This is important because it allows you to anchor higher bands of frequency to your body also. Okay. And it's healthy because we need to maintain a good functioning system that is developing the muscles, good cardio system, because all of that are runways and meridians of energy. So anytime any part of your body becomes atrophied or it hasn't been worked out, it's also in dormant state and it's storing information. So muscle work and the cultivation of your muscles in your body is essential. Also, when we age, we lose muscle mass and it can weaken the body. We can fall, we can break our bones. But those of you that maintain good muscle structure, we don't have that many problems with both your bones or your muscles. So it's really important to make sure that you're eating healthy, you're getting all your nutritious vitamins and minerals that are necessary to maintain the body. With our food today, that's very difficult because it's very depleted of those nutrients. We have a lot. Try not to eat any processed food of any kind. Try to gravitate towards natural foods that will nourish you. Make sure that you're having a good amount of protein, whichever protein that you take in your body, and then building your muscle from there. Okay, it's important, and it really has to do with the entire crystallization system of the body. The healthier the body, it's not just one, right? You're not just going to be, let's say, a muscle person that just completely focuses on developing their muscles, but there's no spiritual connection. That doesn't allow you to harness higher strands of frequency. Okay. It has to be hand in hand, mind, body, and soul. Okay. So that integration, but those of you that work with your energy systems will gravitate more towards a healthy lifestyle, and you will build natural muscle as necessary. Okay. But it's important. And for us, we have to work a little harder because in our society, we become very stagnant. It's very easy to just sit at home all day and not do any of that work. So it's very important, Taylor. Thank you for that question. Can you say anything about the effects of being inside the vortex? Oh, I said that already. Let's see. God, questions pop up not in a random order. Kate Torres, thank you so much for that super chat. I have a hypnotherapy session booked with Alba this month. Would you say that your first session with her was the start of your spiritual journey? Was it a life-changing experience for you? Thank you for that question. No, my spiritual journey started way in 2008 when I started to meditate. Actually, the passing of my fiance was the catalyst for that made me have these powerful questions. And meditation was my way of answering those questions. I was unable to find the answers anywhere outside. It was only discovered through that meditative work. And through the very deep, dedicated meditation work, the shadow work, I deprogrammed myself, and it opened up my faculties. And I had my conscious contact experience. I began to recall my contact since childhood experiences. And for many years, from 2013 to 2017, I kind of didn't talk about any of that, but still kept doing the shadow work and work. And in 2017, I went to do a hypnotherapy session with her, and it allowed me to channel, to put into words all of the downloads informations that were available for me through the ethers by cultivating a neutral state. Okay, so the cultivation of the 0 point allowed my session with Alba to be a channel. If I had not cultivated that 0 point, if I had not cleaned my body of deprogramming traumas, I would not be able to access any kind of level of information that changed my life, essentially. But that channel of information allowed me to get very clear of what was what and what my purpose was in a way. The next day after the session, left my job. I quit my job, ended my relationship, and I just surrendered completely to source, and said to be of service, to be completely of service. So you see, these sessions give you what you intend out of them. This is very important. That remember that it's not so much about who you're working with, but rather you are your healer. You become your healer. And when I had that session, I was 33 years old. Okay. It was a very powerful year of the 33. 33 was the theme of the entire year in every way imaginable. From the time I would wake up in the morning to the hotel room numbers, to telephone numbers, to places that I would visit. I mean, it was ridiculous. So you see, we all have certain formulas in our life where we enter into the highest state of our potential, and we are aligning with the people that will help bring that into fruition. So when you have sessions with Alba, with other people, with whoever it is that you're working with, there's an agreement on the higher level with these individuals in order to help you open channels of frequency, to help you cultivate your highest expression. So you did all the work to open yourself up in a manifesting this session. Now it's your job to open, come into neutral state, and allow that session to take you where you need to go next. Okay. So please remember that you create everything. That's the most important. Alba is amazing. So you are in excellent hands. Kate, thank you so much for being here and for sharing. And I wish you the best of luck. I can't wait to hear how it went. Venusian, I started working out again. My body has been sore for over a week now. I'm trying to be patient with my body as I get stronger. Awesome, Venusian. Let's see, Mafona, thank you so much for that super chat. Love you, Mafona. Thank you. Love and respect to you as well. Rebecca says, what is the difference between neutral state and not feeling sad for things? Numbness. Okay, excellent question. So I guess the question is, why are you not feeling sad? Are you not feeling sad because you are suppressing certain truths, certain emotions? Are you fully authentic in your expression of the experience that you are qualifying and experiencing? If a lot of people, they feel sad, but they immediately have an automatic survival mechanism of suppressing the emotion so they don't feel it. And then they come into numbness. Okay. And numbness is the survival mechanism. So the question is, if you are coming into this numbness, or the avoidance of feeling an emotion, you're going into a closed loop of counter creation. Okay. So we're betraying ourselves because we're not acknowledging the emotions that arise for us. There has to be a space in between your observation, the meaning that you apply the event, or the judgment that you place on things. That space in between, I actually just posted about that on my Instagram, about how the neural pathways, we reinforce them with the actions, the reactions. Reactions reinforce neural pathways. But if we pause before we act, or we choose to behave in a certain way, it dissolves these old neural pathways. So this is how we deprogram and reprogram in vivo. It takes presence and awareness in your present moment. Okay, so always come into authenticity. Always be authentic and truthful with yourself. You cannot lie to anything. You can't lie in this universe. Okay, you can pretend that you don't feel something. You can hide your emotions. You can ignore it. You have to learn to become aware of when your body goes into survival. Some people go into freeze, flight, or fight. Okay, which one are you doing? That's the question. If you're doing any one of those, then that's the inversion of your own truth, and you can cause yourself harm and suffering with that. Neutrality is complete awareness of everything that is occurring, even the most horrible thing that is occurring in that moment, and then choosing how you want to respond to it. That's the difference between, that's the power that neutrality provides you. Neutrality is the key to free will. You do not have free will unless you are coming from a neutral place of actually choosing your participation in what you are creating. Remember, you are the creator, nothing else. So you can only be a creator when you are in neutral, because neutral aligns you with nature, aligns you with what's good for you and the whole, and then you choose consciously co-creation. Okay, so it's a completely different state of creating. So always be completely authentic with your emotions, truthful, acknowledge them, feel them, process them fully, get the information needed. That's evolution, that's alchemization. That's the alchemy of the human, okay? All right, so David, Brian Davis, thank you so much for that super chat. Love you. Thank you so much. Brave Seal, thank you so much. Lee, thank you for that super chat. You are so sweet. Love you. Thank you so much. Jason says, does certain clothing have higher vibrational frequency like linen and cotton? Well, it's not that they have higher vibrational frequency, but it's that they're conduits of energy and electricity, okay? They are, linen and cotton are the most conducive of energy. So they help you hold your frequency better. It doesn't, synthetic plastics and other fabrics, or even metals, when people wear metals, it can interrupt the electrical system in your body, and it suppresses the flow of life force through the body. So that's why it's always important for you to try to choose as natural fabrics as possible. Those are healthy for you, but it's not that the fabric has any power over you. You have the power. Even if you wear plastics, you know, you have to alchemize, and your field has to transcend the limitations of those things. So just FYI, okay? Those are amazing sessions. Yeah, Rick, thank you for that. Also, hair is thin. I believe it can be regrowth, but I find it hard to surrender in the process. Can I wear hair topper and process fully, surrender fully? How to integrate all with ego and balance? Yeah, Rebecca. So, you know, when it comes to these things, what we need to do is to understand what is our truth here, okay? And some of these things can be many layers of information, okay? And when you listen to your intuition, that's usually the highest truth for you. And before you get to that awareness, though, the conclusion that that is your best for you, you might want to experiment many other routes, which most of us do. We doubt our intuition, and then we want to see the evidence of every possible option, right? So when it comes to your aesthetic, for example, my first question is, what's the most loving thing that you can do for yourself? Okay, number one, the answer is always going to be to love and accept yourself as you are. And what you'll find is that usually hair loss and physical imbalances are usually a result of a lot of abandonment, like repeated abandonment for a long time through life, abandonment of ourselves emotionally, physically, and mentally, and spiritually. Okay. So we want to understand what are the patterns that led to this imbalance. Hair loss shouldn't really be a natural thing. It's become a very common thing, but it doesn't mean that it is the right thing for the human body to experience. Okay, these are ancestral programs that are encoded in our DNA. That is the destruction and the weakening of your gene code. Okay, so anytime that our body comes into aging, even aging is a program. It's a biological program that's encoded in our DNA that we can change by growing telomeres. The same with hair growth, okay? Are you taking enough vitamins? Are you taking nutrients? Are you in a constant state of stress and survival? Are your hormones out of balance? All of those are imbalances that are a result of somatic aspects, emotional imbalances that contribute to these imbalances bioelectrically and biochemically. So the first thing we want to understand is, what's our participation in this? Once you understand that, what do you need in order to not repeat that pattern again? Is it simply putting a hair topper and then accepting the situation? Or is it making serious life changes in diet, in your emotions, in the choices of your life, and then seeing where that gets you? And if the topper in the head is the right thing, on top of all those things, fantastic. That's exactly where we need to be. But the number one thing is the emotional coherence. There has to be coherence between all parts of us, mind, body, and soul. How did we get there? We need to know all of this stuff, how we got there, why we're still there, and what we need in order to heal and to become whole again. So that's an excellent example. It's one that I deal with a lot on a daily basis. So I strongly advise you to come into this, love, okay? I love you guys so much. I hope you guys have an incredible week. Zokshil says, thank you. It was a beautiful session. Thank you from my heart. Thank you so much, beloved Zokshil, for being here with us. Art, I'm so happy you were able to identify that, and I hope to work with you soon, Art. All right. Much love. See you soon. Bye. Love you.